by a couple things going on there. Nothing on the legislation side, actually. Some interesting research that I've had of late, which has put me in the agricultural sector. So you've heard of terms like fintech and health tech and all this. Well, ag tech is a thriving swim lane as well. And I had a chance to talk to folks from like Case in New Holland, John Deere, those folks, to hear what's going on in their advancement of technology, and particularly what's the U.S. Leader in. And so today I just want to give you a little bit of background of what I'm finding out. Interestingly enough, John Deere, as opposed to some of the other competitors, actually do all of their development internally. Occasionally they have some partnerships, but by and large, it's all internal. So what that means for them, I found out, is that they now employ up to 500 software engineers out in Des Moines. And in that discussion, I found out was, most of that is going to be in the data science world and data analytics. And they're trying to work ag tech to a mission of things like increased productivity and efficiency in the field management. So in ag, what that means is, can you go in fewer times down rows and get more crops, administered and managed? And can you do it with fewer chemicals and less deposition of stuff, so that you actually this is where you get into precision agriculture, where it's not just about taking machinery by GPS and by other location enabling technologies and making it automated, if not autonomous, but about doing more with less. And so the efficiencies there are really getting away from needing more pesticides or insecticides or herbicides, because they can precision weed, or they can only place that kind of application at the very moment of need and not on the crop. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff that technology and particularly data is driving that actually ends up in the second mission of AgTech, which is sustainability. So when you're talking to, I read a lot from their CTO and had conversations with some of their both procurement and technology department folks, and they're describing all these great technologies, but at the end of the day, they're going, look, the ground and the earth is basically our ultimate customer. We want to make sure we're taking care of it. So they've got all these different technologies that are really coming out in what we could call, green, sustainable kind of tech. And another interesting thing out of that conversation was a huge acquisition that John Deere made for Blue River Tech, and it's an AI firm. It was based in Silicon Valley, and they were starting to use AI to better understand what was present in the crop and around the crop. And see and spray is their catchphrase there. So what is it that you see, and then what is it that it needs? But the interesting walk of that acquisition was that John Deere realized they needed to be out in Silicon Valley, not necessarily because there would have been a rock to overturn and find some gold or nugget that they would not have otherwise found. Their words, not mine. They had a branding problem. They had all these data software engineering type roles that they needed to fill. No one thought of John Deere necessarily as a tech firm. And they certainly didn't think that all those types of jobs, when they're comparing a Google and a Facebook and a Tesla, were out in Des Moines, Iowa. And so John Deere picked up and put a lab out there to help better educate and show some exposure to that young talent, really, of what's going on in the world of John Deere, which is really exciting, seeing all the things that they are doing. So the legislative tie back to this is, what are the things that the U.S. does well, and what are some policies that we need to ensure are keeping that leadership and accelerating where necessary? And the only takeaway today, because that legislation is still in draft, is that there's a lot to be said about how a firm handles their reinvestment back into R&D and the high correlation, and I believe now there's enough data to say causation of your investment as to where you are in the leadership ranking. And we won't talk the whole history of the 5-axis and export control and how that reduced overseas revenue, which had a discount on internal reinvestment. But that story is now being understood a little better, especially in the policymaking, the legislative bodies. And so one of the duties AMT has is to continue to make sure that story is well known. So we are doing all we can there to make sure that both the government, but also businesses understand the value of a reinvestment for R&D to keep leadership and keep capabilities and competencies high inside the U.S. Well, listen, there's far more I could talk to you about that, but it is an AMT Minute, so I will stop there. I hope you have a great rest of the day and look forward to talking to you soon.